Well, Randy, we're back again. My name is Ben Welch. This is Randy Bloom. Randy's taken care of the Suburban the last, it's been more than just a couple months, Randy. I think you started taking care of it, right after Harvey passed away, and so I think that was at about $300,000 or something. But we were in here about a year ago, I think, wasn't it, with the intake manifold?
Yep.
And up until that time, yeah, just put that on you there, Randy. We'll make sure we got you wired up here. I forgot to do that. Anyway, the story on this vehicle, it's got 680,000 miles on it. And Randy, you had, it's up until a year ago, it really never had anything done to it, period. Just odds and ends, alternator and
Yeah.
power steering and air conditioning compressor and so on. As far as engine itself, you never even had the valve covers off or the oil pan off. But a year ago, well, at about 400,000 miles, which I guess was 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, I was coming back from Oklahoma one day, and it was, I think, the 5th of July. It was 106 degrees outside. I was coming up Highway 71, and for about an hour I thought that Missouri had a problem with Highway 71 because it seemed to have a lot of ruts in it. Well, Highway 71 jogs after a while, and as I went around that jog I realized the state of Missouri didn't have a problem, the Suburban had a problem, because I didn't have any power steering. I could hardly get around that corner. And so I, of course, glanced down at the gauges, and it was just, of course, the heat gauge was buried in the red. So what happened was the air compressor locked up, and I brought it back. I just didn't run the air conditioner, and of course you put a new compressor on it. But that was at 400,000, and I noticed it started using a little water, and so I started running the dike in it, and that did fine until about a year ago, and I think it had like 638,000.
Yeah.
When you when you finally decided we got to put a manifold, intake manifold gaskets, and it was running fine. Now, I will admit, you've been warning me for 200,000 miles. I probably ruined the head gaskets, but being as stubborn as I am, I just kept running it. Well, anyway, Tuesday of this week, I was coming back from California. We have a daughter and her family in the LA area, and we got just this side of Grand Junction Tuesday morning, and the radiator blew out, and so I had to have it towed back to Grand Junction, and they put a new radiator in it. But when they checked for the compression gases, yeah, sure enough, there was compression gases in the radiator. So instead of just leaving it there, I just rented a truck and brought it home. And anyway, so that's where we are today, 680,000. What can you tell us, Randy? Normally you would say just put a new engine in it, right?
Well, yeah, that would be the general response to any customer, because not too many of them have 700,000 miles on it. But in your case, since the original block is still in here, and after pulling the heads and looking to see that there's really little to no ring ridge, so basically what that means is there's no wear on the cylinder walls. Even with that engine getting as hot as it did a few years ago, there's little to no scoring on any of the cylinder walls. I mean, there's a few marks up and down, but nothing like you would see on one that is super hot. It doesn't, the actual pistons don't have any piston slap. Like I said, there's no ring ridge at the top. And, you know, the oil that's in it obviously is doing its job, because the wear is so minimal. At 700,000, it's, you know, it's something to you'd have to see it to believe it, I guess. And
just to fill in, Randy, I've been using Conklin's Convoy. The 1540 is what I started out with on this. That's what I've stayed with. Convoy 1540 parasynthetic oil. But every time I fill up, I add just a little of the Fuel Mate Plus to the gas. And I'm sure that's one of the reasons that it didn't blow up when I ran it an hour without water, quite frankly.
Yeah, and the oil had to have helped tremendously.
Yeah, I mean, both the oil and the Fuel Mate, and I never miss on the Fuel Mate. And then about every 4,000 or 5,000 miles, I run just one pint of the fuel system cleaner 4-power through it, so it keeps it clean. And I remember when you took the intake manifold off, Yeah, there it is over there. You were showing me how clean that was because of the
Yes.
4-power and fuel mate, and that's, I think we've already got that on the web, so you can see that. But Randy, I guess I could bring the camera down, and what was interesting to me, you pointed out where it got so hot. You can see the up and down, I think it was on that cylinder over there. Maybe we could show that if I could grab the camera. That was interesting, and then you can have your comments on there, what you were telling me earlier. Let me grab the camera.
Okay.
Okay, Randy, we're on.
Now if you can get the camera down here where we can see, I'll shine the light here, and if you can see with the camera, the viewing on the camera, the scoring in that cylinder, it's got some up and down scoring marks.
Now you're looking at the first one, second one?
This is actually, it'd be 246, it'd be number 6 cylinder.
That second one in or the
and
last
yeah,
one?
this one right here where the light is, and there's some light scoring up and down, but you have to realize that's on an engine that was probably 260, 280 degrees in a 106 degree temperature, and most engines that get that hot, they're either going to be locked up, scoring, rattling, piston slap whenever they get that hot. So,
and that's the up and down marks, right?
The up and down marks that you can see going straight up and down in the cylinders walls there. The top quarter inch or so, you can see where there's a little bit of carbon buildup there, but that's where the piston stops and the swiping of the rings stop there, and really there's no, you can take your fingernail across there and there's really no ridge on there whatsoever. At 700,000 miles, it's almost unheard of. And to this day, you said it really uses little to no oil at all, and that's amazing in itself on a small block Chevy. So
you said normally getting that hot, that scoring, you actually transfer metal from the rings to the
cylinder walls and piston also. The piston can transfer metal, and usually you end up with piston slap. They get so hot the pistons will actually rattle when you accelerate, and this one's as quiet as it could be as long as you run it normal. It sounds as good as it did probably the day it was put together. So
yeah, I really haven't seen one bit of difference in how it runs today versus nearly 700,000 miles ago, Randy. It's just, and this is the first time, of course, that it's been opened up. But and I apologize for not taking your advice years ago.
Well, and the other thing is those valve covers were original valve covers still on this thing. It's almost 700,000, and they were stuck on there like cement. I had to really get them popped off of there because they were stuck so hard. But they've never been off of there. So this engine's all about as original as you can get, except for that intake manifold replaced last summer. So
yeah, the gasket on that's the only thing that's been replaced.
Yeah.
And one side note, you talk about the valve covers being hard to get off, the gaskets. Randy, in 700,000 miles, I don't have any leaks on my garage floor. I mean, this engine with the convoy does not leak 700,000 miles nearly.
Yeah, that's impressive. That's really impressive.
So, anything else that people be interested in taking a look at? I think you pretty much.
Well, we don't have the heads here. They're actually at the machine shop, but the machine shop owner that's doing the heads for us, he said he's probably going to replace the valves in it just for the fact it's got so many miles, but he said actually the valves don't look that bad. So I said, well, if we're going to go through and do the valve or the heads anyway and service them, we just will put valves in it. And of course they'll have new valve seals, and hopefully the rest of the engine will hold up. I mean, in most cases we generally don't do a partial build on an engine with this many miles, but in this case, there's reasons why that we want to see how it'll do. So,
well, we'll keep after it, and we'll see if it'll make another. Most people when they get a vehicle that's got 100,000 miles, they're starting to get nervous. And 200,000, that gets to be a little unusual. But this one's actually got it's just 20,000 short of 700,000 on it now. So it'll be interesting to see if we can make $1 million.
Go for $1 million.
Okay. Well, Randy, we sure appreciate what all you've done to keep this thing running. At least you've, you know, the odds and ends stuff. I appreciate what you've done.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Randy.
Thanks, Ben.